Trinidad and Tobago is full of things the travel brochures never mention, like the glowing worms inside its hidden caves, the world's oldest protected rainforest, and a football team that made World Cup history against all odds. In this documentary, we dive deep into 16 unbelievable but true facts that prove this country is way more than just rum and beaches. No clickbait, no fantasy, this is the real deal, backed by research and respect. Let's take a journey you won't find on Instagram. This video was created with limited visual and video footage of Trinidad and Tobago, which may result in some illustrations or stock content being used for reference. Despite these constraints, I've done my absolute best to deliver an engaging and fact-filled documentary that truly honors the uniqueness of this incredible country. I appreciate your understanding and hope you enjoy the journey just as much as I enjoyed creating it. Fact 1. The world's oldest protected rainforest in the Western Hemisphere is in Tobago. Tucked into the smaller island of Tobago lies the Main Ridge Forest Reserve, a natural treasure that holds a mighty title. It's the oldest legally protected forest reserve in the Western Hemisphere, established in the year 1776. That's right. Before most countries even thought of environmental conservation, the British colonial government of Tobago passed legislation to protect this vital rainforest. The reason? To ensure the island's supply of fresh water remains stable by maintaining the watershed. Today, this ecological masterpiece is home to over 200 bird species, including the striking blue-backed manakin and the elusive white-tailed saber-wing hummingbird. It also hosts numerous reptiles, rare insects, and endemic flora, making it a paradise for ecotourism and birdwatching. The reserve's long-standing protection has allowed it to thrive for nearly 2.5 centuries, standing as a living example of early conservation ethics that predates most global environmental policies. Walking through its misty trails feels like time traveling into an untouched ancient world. Trinidad may be the bustling business hub, but Tobago is where nature quietly holds court, with a law older than America's independence. Fact 2. Trinidad has a volcano that erupts. Cold mud. Forget lava. Trinidad's most bizarre geological feature is the Piparo Mud Volcano, a natural oddity that quite literally exploded in the year 1997, displacing entire homes in a massive eruption of mud. Unlike traditional volcanoes that spew magma, mud volcanoes release a thick mix of water, clay, and gas, often due to underground pressure from petroleum or natural gas fields. Piparo, nestled in central Trinidad, is one of several mud volcanoes on the island, but it's the most infamous. Its eruption was so intense that it buried cars and houses in mud up to 20 feet deep, forcing hundreds to evacuate. Even more surreal, the area still hisses and bubbles ominously today, attracting thrill-seeking tourists and geologists alike. Locals joke that it's the coolest volcano in the Caribbean, literally. These mud volcanoes also hint at the island's rich hydrocarbon reserves beneath the surface, which help drive Trinidad's economy. Unlike fiery eruptions elsewhere, Piparo's spectacle was slow, cold, and unstoppable, proving that sometimes the Earth can be just as dangerous when it's chilly and gooey. It's geological drama with a Caribbean twist. Fact 3. The Steelpan is the only acoustic instrument invented in the 20th century, and it was born in Trinidad. While most musical instruments have ancient roots stretching back centuries, Trinidad gifted the world something truly fresh: the Steelpan, the only acoustic instrument invented in the entire 20th century. This melodic marvel emerged from the scrapyards and carnival streets of Port of Spain during the 1930s and 40s, crafted ingeniously from discarded oil drums. Afro-Trinidadian communities, under colonial oppression and restrictions on drumming, began experimenting with metal containers, eventually tuning them into instruments capable of entire orchestral arrangements. By hammering and shaping the steel surfaces, musicians discovered they could produce distinct pitches, and the Steelpan was born. Today, it's the national instrument of Trinidad and Tobago and a global symbol of Caribbean creativity. The island even hosts the legendary Panorama competition, where hundreds of steel orchestras battle in front of roaring crowds. More than just an instrument, the Steelpan is a defiant cultural response to hardship, colonial bans, and the need for expression. It sings of freedom, identity, and sheer invention, and no other country can claim anything like it. In the Caribbean, innovation doesn't come from laboratories. It comes from rhythm, resilience, and a little oil drum magic. Fact 4. A tiny village in Trinidad helped shape the U.S. Civil Rights Movement. Nestled quietly in southern Trinidad, the humble village of Tunapuna is far from famous, yet it played a surprising role in shaping American history. This small community is the birthplace of Stokely Carmichael, the firebrand civil rights activist who later became known as Kwame Ture. Born in 1941, Carmichael moved to the United States as a child and eventually became a key figure in the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, and later, the Black Panther Party. He was the man who famously coined the term Black Power, a slogan that would galvanize a generation and terrify another. Despite leaving Trinidad young, Carmichael's Pan-African worldview and later alliances with African leaders like Kwame Nkrumah were rooted in a diasporic consciousness deeply tied to the Caribbean. Tunapuna's son didn't just march in the streets. He reshaped political discourse, challenged systemic racism, and became a transatlantic voice for Black liberation. It's a reminder that even the smallest Caribbean villages can produce voices loud enough to echo through the halls of history. Trinidad may be known for its music and carnival, but its political legacy runs deep and at times revolutionary. Fact 5. Trinidad and Venezuela are so close, fishermen accidentally cross borders and get arrested. Trinidad is only 7 miles off the northeastern coast of Venezuela, so close that on a clear day, you can literally see the South American mainland from parts of the island. But this geographic proximity has a dark twist. Due to poorly marked maritime borders and economic desperation, local Trinidadian fishermen have often drifted into Venezuelan waters, sometimes unknowingly. The consequences can be severe. Venezuelan authorities have detained dozens of fishermen over the years, confiscating their boats and charging them with illegal entry. Some have even been imprisoned for weeks. It's a tense situation made worse by Venezuela's internal crisis and hypersensitive military posture. Trinidad, on its part, has tried to negotiate releases diplomatically, but border skirmishes over fish and fuel continue to bubble beneath the waves. To make matters more complicated, Venezuela and Trinidad are also oil and gas partners, cooperating on shared energy fields, while simultaneously policing each other at sea. It's a bizarre neighbor dynamic. One part cooperation, one part confrontation. Geography may unite them, but politics keeps the waters choppy. Fact 6. Trinidad's Pitch Lake is the largest natural asphalt deposit on Earth, and it might be bottomless. Tucked away in the quiet village of La Brea, Trinidad is home to one of the most bizarre and geologically mind-blowing places on the planet, the Pitch Lake. This oozing, bubbling jet-black lake isn't filled with water, but with natural asphalt, and it's the largest deposit of its kind in the entire world. Measuring approximately 100 acres, the surface looks solid, but don't be fooled. It can swallow anything that lingers too long. Entire animals, tools, and even a construction truck have reportedly disappeared into its sticky depths. Some scientists believe the lake is connected to deep underground oil reserves, possibly explaining its slow, eternal exhalation of tar. Others claim it might be bottomless. Even Sir Walter Raleigh stumbled upon it during his expeditions in the year 1595 and used the pitch to caulk his ships. Despite being an industrial resource, still mined and exported today, it's also a tourist attraction, where guides casually walk on parts of it barefoot. Yes, barefoot. The lake also produces microbial life found nowhere else on Earth, making it a scientific marvel. Trinidad's Pitch Lake is less a lake and more a living, breathing geological enigma, equal parts danger, wonder, and uncharted mystery. Fact 7. Trinidad's carnival was born as a form of slave rebellion disguised in masquerade. Forget feathers and glitter for a second. Trinidad's carnival is more than just a party. It's a living rebellion dressed in sequins. This world-famous festival, often called the greatest show on Earth, actually has roots in resistance against colonial oppression. When French planters brought carnival to Trinidad in the 18th century, it was a lavish masquerade for the white elite. But after slavery was abolished in 1834, freed Africans took those same traditions and flipped them into bold statements of defiance. They created their own version, canboulé, infused with drums, dance, and satire, mocking their former masters in broad daylight. Authorities tried to ban it, fearing the power of mass gatherings and cultural pride. But the people refused. Instead, they fought, literally, with riots erupting in the late 19th century. That rebellious energy still pulses through every Jouvert morning, where revelers smear themselves with mud and paint at dawn, celebrating not just freedom, but the spirit of survival. So when you see those carnival bands parading through Port of Spain, know this: it's not just about music and costumes. It's about reclaiming identity, rewriting history, and laughing in the face of colonial control with a wine and a grin. Fact 8. Trinidad's street food culture is so diverse, it includes dishes with Indian, African, Chinese, and Syrian roots, all in one bite. Nowhere in the Caribbean, and possibly the world, will you find such an intense mix of flavors crammed into a single roadside stall like you do in Trinidad. Thanks to its complex colonial history and immigrant waves, the island has birthed a street food culture that blends Indian, African, Chinese, and even Syrian-Lebanese traditions. The most iconic dish, doubles, a spicy, messy, glorious sandwich made from 2 pieces of bara, fried flatbread, filled with curried chickpeas, chutney, pepper sauce, and sometimes mango or cucumber. It's cheap, fast, and worshipped by locals. But that's just the beginning. You'll find Chinese-style noodles, served with spicy Creole chicken, Middle Eastern-inspired gyros loaded with Caribbean slaw, and African-rooted provisions like cassava pies and callaloo. Even bacon shark, the country's beloved beachside snack, features deep-fried shark meat stuffed in fried dough with a buffet of condiments that range from garlic sauce to tamarind chutney. Each bite is a history lesson. In Trinidad, food is more than sustenance. It's identity, ancestry, and fusion on fire. And yes, if you ask 3 locals where to find the best doubles, you'll start an argument that might last until Carnival. Fact 9. Trinidad's national bird is the Scarlet Ibis, and it turns red by eating shrimp. If you ever find yourself in the Caroni swamp during sunset, prepare to witness one of the most spectacular natural displays in the Caribbean. Thousands of scarlet ibises soaring home to roost, painting the sky with streaks of crimson. These elegant birds are Trinidad's national symbol, and their color isn't just genetic, it's dietary. They're actually born dull gray, and their feathers gradually turn flaming red, thanks to a steady diet of crustaceans, especially shrimp, which are rich in carotenoids. Nature apparently has a flair for fashion. Found in massive colonies in the swampy mangroves of western Trinidad, these birds are sacred to many locals and fiercely protected by conservation laws. Yet ironically, they've also been at the center of controversy, as poaching and illegal hunting have threatened their numbers despite their iconic status. The Caroni Bird Sanctuary is now a major ecotourism site, where boat tours glide silently through narrow channels, waiting for the moment when the horizon ignites with red wings. For a nation as vibrant as Trinidad, the Scarlet Ibis feels like the perfect emblem, graceful, radiant, and unapologetically bold. And yes, even birds here understand that looking good starts with what you eat. Fact 10. El Tucuche is not only a sacred peak, it hosts species found nowhere else on Earth. Rising dramatically to over 3,000 feet, El Tucuche is Trinidad's second highest peak. But don't let that runner-up status fool you. It's the most sacred and biologically intriguing mountain on the island. Revered by the indigenous Amerindian peoples, particularly the Caribs, El Tucuche was considered a spiritual gateway. Even today, locals say its summit, often wrapped in thick mist, holds a kind of untouchable energy. Scientifically, the mountain is equally legendary. Its steep, cloud-covered slopes are home to ultra-rare flora and fauna, including the Trinidad stream frog and the dazzling golden tree frog, which survives only in the water-filled leaf axils of giant bromeliads near the summit. Nowhere else on Earth can you find these species. The ecosystem here is so delicate, even small changes in climate or human activity can tip the balance. Hikers who make the journey to the top often describe it as entering another world. A silent green cathedral where orchids grow wild and hummingbirds flash like spirits. El Tucuche is more than just a mountain. It's a biological time capsule, a cultural shrine, and a reminder that even small islands can have sky-high secrets. Fact 11. In 1990, Trinidad faced the only attempted Islamist coup in the Western Hemisphere. While the Caribbean is often seen as calm and laid back, Trinidad shattered that stereotype in 1990 when it became the stage for the only known Islamist coup attempt in the Western Hemisphere. Led by a radical group called the Jama'at al-Muslimin, about 114 armed men stormed Parliament and the national television station in Port of Spain. They held the Prime Minister, A.N.R. Robinson, hostage for 6 days and even shot him in the leg when he defiantly told the nation to attack with full force. The group demanded the government's resignation and blamed rising poverty and corruption. Shockingly, after negotiations, the coup plotters were granted amnesty, a legal decision that still sparks controversy to this day. Though the coup failed, it left lasting scars. 24 people died, and the event deeply shook Trinidad's sense of national stability. The city was looted, curfews were imposed, and the trauma lingered for years. It's a chilling reminder that even island nations can face the fires of extremism and internal conflict. This wasn't just a political crisis. It was a turning point in Caribbean security history, and a real-world reminder that peace is never guaranteed, even in paradise. Fact 12. Trinidad and Tobago is the smallest country ever to qualify for a FIFA World Cup. In the year 2006, a sporting miracle took place. Trinidad and Tobago qualified for the FIFA World Cup, becoming the smallest nation by population ever to reach the tournament. With just over 1.3 million citizens at the time, the island duo stunned the football world by beating Bahrain in a dramatic playoff to book their spot in Germany. Once there, they didn't just make up the numbers, they made history again. In their opening match, they held Sweden, a global football powerhouse, to a goalless draw, despite playing a chunk of the match with only 10 men. The country exploded in celebration. Streets turned into rivers of red, white, and black. Flags were flown from cars, balconies, even boats. The team's nickname, Soca Warriors, became a national badge of honor. Though they didn't make it past the group stage, their grit and pride captured global respect. For a country smaller than most cities, Trinidad and Tobago stood shoulder to shoulder with the giants and kicked with just as much heart. It wasn't just a sports victory. It was a declaration that size doesn't matter when your spirit is colossal. Fact 13. Despite being a tropical nation, Trinidad and Tobago has one of the world's highest per capita CO2 emissions. Now here's a twist. Although it's surrounded by turquoise waters and lush greenery, Trinidad and Tobago ranks among the top countries worldwide in per capita carbon dioxide emissions. That's right. This sunny island nation has CO2 levels per person that often rival industrial giants. Why? The answer lies beneath its soil. Trinidad is a major oil and natural gas producer, and its economy heavily depends on petrochemical industries like ammonia, methanol, and liquefied natural gas. While the population is relatively small, just over 1.4 million, the volume of fossil fuel extraction and processing is enormous. As a result, the country's emissions are disproportionately high for its size. Ironically, Trinidad is also highly vulnerable to climate change, facing rising sea levels, stronger storms, and coral bleaching. It's a painful paradox. The very resources that power its economy are accelerating the environmental risks it must now urgently address. Though efforts are being made to diversify energy and reduce emissions, the road ahead is steep. In this sun-kissed land of music and mangroves, the fight for a sustainable future is both a local battle and a global lesson in contradiction. Fact 14. Trinidad has a hidden cave full of glowing blue worms. Yes, you read that right. Glowing worms. Deep within the limestone hills of northern Trinidad, the Gaspari Caves conceal one of the island's most surreal secrets: bioluminescent organisms, specifically glowworms, that emit an eerie blue-green light in complete darkness. These tiny creatures line the damp cave walls and ceilings, producing a faint, otherworldly glow that illuminates the subterranean chambers, like a scene from a sci-fi film. The caves themselves are a geological masterpiece, formed over thousands of years by the relentless erosion of water, and feature vast chambers, underground pools, and hanging stalactites. Located on Gaspar Grande Island, just off the coast of Chaguaramas, the caves are accessible only by boat and short hike, making them one of the country's lesser-known but most magical natural wonders. Locals once believed the cave was haunted, and it's easy to see why. Between the silence, the shadows, and the faint flicker of glowworms, it feels like entering a realm where time has stopped. It's nature's light show, and in a country known for its carnival glitz above ground, there's something poetic about discovering its quietest, strangest beauty deep below. Fact 15. Trinidad and Tobago was the first country to elect a female prime minister who was also of Indian descent in the Americas. In 2010, Trinidad and Tobago made history by electing Kamla Persad-Bissessar as its prime minister, marking a double milestone. She became not only the nation's first female head of government, but also the first woman of Indian descent to lead any country in the entire Western Hemisphere. Born into a working-class Indo-Trinidadian family, Kamla rose through the ranks with a background in education and law, ultimately breaking through the male-dominated walls of Caribbean politics. Her election was a powerful moment for representation, especially in a country where over 35% of the population is of Indian heritage, a legacy of indentured labor brought by the British after slavery was abolished. Her leadership symbolized both gender progress and ethnic empowerment, particularly for Indo-Caribbean women who had long been underrepresented in politics. Though her tenure wasn't without controversy, her rise shattered old colonial hierarchies and rewrote political expectations across the region. It proved that Trinidad and Tobago, despite its size, has never played small on the world stage. From calypso to parliament, this country keeps leading, innovating, and surprising in ways no one sees coming. Living in Trinidad and Tobago offers a colorful blend of affordability and island energy, but it's not without its quirks. Let's start with the cost of living. While cheaper than most Western countries, prices can vary sharply between urban Trinidad and quieter Tobago. A modest one-bedroom apartment in Port of Spain rents for around $400 to $600 USD, while a similar place in Tobago might be slightly less. Utilities typically cost between $80 to $120 USD, and internet runs about $40 monthly. Eating local is cheap. Street food like doubles or roti goes for under $2, and a full restaurant meal costs around $10 to $15 USD. Imported goods, however, are heavily taxed, so expect higher prices for cheese, wine, electronics, and brand-name clothes. For settlement and visas, Trinidad and Tobago offers a relatively accessible process for skilled workers, investors, and retirees. While there's no golden visa, Commonwealth citizens have smoother entry options. Work permits can be obtained for professions in demand, especially in oil, gas, education, and healthcare. However, bureaucracy can be slow, and securing legal residency requires patience and local contacts. In terms of job opportunities, Trinidad has a stronger economy than most Caribbean neighbors, driven by its petroleum industry. Engineers, IT professionals, medical staff, and skilled tradespeople have reasonable chances. Freelancers and digital nomads are growing in number too, especially with the rise of remote work, though internet reliability can vary. In short, Trinidad and Tobago isn't your typical resort island. It's livable, dynamic, and full of contrast. For expats who can adapt to the local rhythm and navigate a few bureaucratic hurdles, it offers sun, spice, and surprisingly solid opportunities. If you enjoyed discovering these incredible facts about Trinidad and Tobago, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Make sure to subscribe to Andy Explores the World for more mind-blowing travel documentaries from the most unexpected corners of the globe. Have a favorite fact from this video? Drop it in the comments, or let us know if there's a country you want us to explore next. And as always, thank you for watching, and see you in the next adventure.